Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. This is Peter Joseph, April 8th, 2015. I hope everyone's doing well out there. If you're new to the Zeitgeist movement, please go to thezeitgeistmovement.com and look at the quick start instructions. There's been a slew of emails from various sources through various channels asking about how people can participate in the movement. And it's very difficult and arduous, tedious, I should say, for independent responses to happen consistently or quickly. We highly encourage you to go to thezeitgeistmovement.com first and go to the quick start, or to read the book, of course, which has generally the same information, minus the chapter information, and then start to peruse all the lectures and general media. Anything anyone wants to know about the movement from top to bottom is available through the Zeitgeist Movement Global, so just want to remind everybody about that. Today, I'm going to continue with the Global Podcast to feature ZDay Berlin lectures. And we are going to have Brandon Kristy from the United States, California chapter. He's been around for years, one of my local associates, as I'm in Los Angeles as well, a brilliant guy. And he is going to give a presentation, or he did, but here is our feature for the broadcast, called Anatomy and Spirit of a Worldwide Movement. And he's going to describe the evolution, role, and inner workings of a functional TZM chapter and the various mindsets and approaches necessary. So this is a great talk. Chapter development is, of course, very difficult. And it will also conclude with Eva Omori giving a final statement for the ZDay event, which is very nice. And I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'll be back to do more full concept-oriented podcasts in the future. But for now, we'll feature these talks as they're previously unreleased. I think that's actually one final thing before I forget. The TZM official application, which is currently for iOS, which will be for Android. I know people are impatient. This had some bugs in the prior release, and it's going to be fixed relatively soon with a lot of new updates, actually, along with a bug fix. So it's available in multiple languages now, but I would pause to download this at the moment. But if you do download it, install it, and create an account, an email will be sent when a new update is available, an update with the bugs fixed. All right, everybody, thank you very much. Enjoy Brandon.
My name is Brandon Kristy. I come from the Los Angeles movement, where we've been trying to create a movement there for the past 5 to 6 years. And I want to speak to that today, of what goes into the functioning makeup of the movement, its range of actions, how we go about coordinating events and activism, the evolution of a chapter, where this is all going, that kind of thing. And also, in addition to the physical effort for change, I want to also speak to the spirit or culture within the movement. There are some underlying internal dispositions and outlooks that I think are necessary in balancing and sustaining one's actions in this undertaking, and I want to spend some time with that too. So jumping into it, the Zeitgeist movement is a human rights, sustainability, social movement, and growing world community, which really does not appreciate the negligence of the governing economic order in place today, with its requisite structural oppression to sacrifice great social and ecological cost with little economic life-supporting return, just to preserve itself in the small degree of functionality and life support that it does have. The starvation, the poverty, the class discrimination, the ecological damage, and the relative ruin and distress that it leaves the human population in on a daily basis. This is not appreciated, and we will persist in making this cold analysis visible to the general public, bringing it to the center of societal attention to amass as one unified global movement for the nonviolent, non-participatory leveraging for change. Many talks have come forward over the years detailing the self-sabotaging nature of our market structure, as well as theory and vision for a new model of human organization. But what concerns my sense of activism tonight is not only the cognitive awareness of such, but moves to the subject of coordinated human action. How we can come together from the intellectual awareness to attain critical relevance in culture. This was the intent from the beginning with the Zeitgeist movement. Now hundreds of chapters exist across the world with activism and events ongoing, and we are equally robust online as well with international communications and web teams. I do want to make it clear that while TZM has its distinctions, this is but a part of a broader, growing worldwide activist community which has been coming into solidarity with itself over time around common threads of greater equality, meeting basic human needs across the world, ecological balance, systemic, structural change that's starting to come into solidarity with the general activist community, peace between nations, the value revolutions of health, self-empowerment, the positivity revolution. These are common threads to be further realized and unified from, even in addition to the greater solidarity beyond class, economic background, racial, religious, educational, political differences. There's common threads. And this is our true power and opportunity for change, our common ground interest and ability to amass as one unified associate force. We think this is highly possible and highly probable. We're working towards it. We think it's what it will take to engage and confront the established order itself. So we turn honestly to this movement task imperative. It's very important to understand things, of what's happening in the world, how the system works. It's very important, the systemic hows and whys, the possibilities for a new system too. But that is only where things begin. Then comes the movement side of things. And let's get into that now, the functioning makeup or anatomy of this movement. It's sustaining activities and patterns for expansion. Most are aware of a grassroots movement phenomenon, a cause for some social or ecological betterment, starting out as a small group of people, eventually catching on and growing to mass due to its high degree of relevance and importance. And it's basically community motivated. It's a non-entity empowered by mass support to bring its cause to the center of societal attention. The defining characteristic in this movement endeavor is communication. To bring about a new system means getting people aware of its relevance and importance. Getting everybody to do anything coordinated in any one direction is going to take a massive effort of communication. It's fundamental. So whatever it takes to spread awareness, we better be damn good at it. The Zeitgeist movement lives as a global, self-organizing network. Notable web actions would be the international regional meetings, linguistics teams meeting, and operations linguistics team is amazing, translating a lot of content into various languages and websites. The global website, the zeitgeistmovement.com, a lot of people I'm sure are aware of that. We have an art and media website to view and submit art, an applied technology website, 2 annual event day websites for ZDay and for the Zeitgeist Media Festival, social network pages, YouTube pages for the global and local levels, radio shows, blogs. We're out there. We are out there. And there's countless other creative online mediums for expanding this direction. As for the physical community chapters, I want to first begin by describing the evolution of a chapter, speaking from firsthand experiences. I have been a part of the formation of the Los Angeles chapter since 2009. It started with a website, with the creation of a website that had basic movement-defining content on there, with a way to register and to find where other people are. You could find it through a basic, simple web search. Through the Global Movement's website, the chapters are listed on the global site. The website was key because it facilitated interaction. Very quickly, physical meetings were set up to meet each other, and people began getting on the same page about the intent and focus of the chapter and of the movement. More meetings were held every 2 weeks at someone's home. We started getting a sense of each other's time and skills. We followed up with each other. We shared contacts and emails and phone numbers. We followed up with each other about projects. Some took, some didn't. We started offering up materials at meetings, flyers, DVDs type stuff. But most importantly, these meetings were and still are a place for new interests to come in and to have a place to get involved and become a part of the buildings of the chapter and of the movement. Physical meetings are the seeds from which the movement grows, giving rise to a variety of ways to bring awareness to this direction, and I want to get into some more of that here. As chapters, we inform. And one of the main ways of doing so is by holding events like this. Organizing public events and action is foundational to a social movement as an effective, proven action for orienting collective society toward a specific direction. Very important, event holding. Events are held in a variety of spaces depending on the content and format, or it can be held in collaboration with existing events with other organizations. Another method for movement building is tabling activism, what I call tabling activism, where the movement tables with information and a voice at local community events. There's always some kind of cultural community type event happening out there somewhere for us to link into and show up with a basic table and some materials and a voice. Events, of course, vary in relevance as far as plugging into whatever community event is out there. They do vary in relevance and receptivity, but our activism has got to make its way into all pockets of society and culture. If it's not apparently relevant, then we make it relevant. That's the whole point here. Banner activism, what I call banner activism. This is something that has been pretty popular in Los Angeles, where the chapter coordinates to meet at highly trafficked, highly public areas for a couple hours to display and walk with banners which read the Zeitgeist movement title. Overall, the public has been rather receptive and generally supportive of it. They're attention-getting. The banners are very attention-getting. We hand out information. We keep it civil. We're not there yelling or having scowls on our face. We're just simply there, very matter of fact. We don't think we're cute. We're not giggling about it. We're just there to, at the very least, to wish people a good day and to get the title out there. Basic info flyers are also very effective. A lot of creative ways to put them to use. You can use them on info tables or info boards. You can hand it to someone in conversation. You can leave it on someone's car. I've seen them displayed on trailheads, as you see here. That was a pretty creative one. There's T-shirts, there's stickers. I even saw a movement business card inside a gas station swiper. You insert your card to get gas. I saw one in there. And there's some also social media. You can create art. There's a lot of different ways to get this out. I won't go into all of them. Also some long-standing awareness campaigns like the TZM Why I Advocate, the Zeitgeist Movement YouTube campaign. Anyone can make a video like that and just simply advocate why they support this direction. And you can, of course, turn to your fellow man about this direction as well. There is always that. Chapter websites. We have movement-defining content visible up front on our websites, a way to register, a calendar of upcoming actions, a discussion forum, a way to order awareness materials, relevant web links, how-to pages for activism and involvement, pictures of past activism and events. And in addition to chapter websites, a lot of us run social media pages. That proves pretty effective for chapter building, as it's very grassroots. The sharing, the free flow of information happens pretty organically and spontaneously on the social media pages. They're very representative of, the commons, just public square type thing, only it's online. Documentation of our actions is critical. That our efforts live on online for the greater public to witness and to show that we are active. And it's inspiring, and it empowers others to do, that they can do the same thing. Also gives this historical precedence. PR publicity is also essential, anatomy of the movement, writing and submitting to the press and media about upcoming actions and events to bring our actions to the center of attention for the public. The press has been no stranger to channeling the impact of social movements historically. Press is a powerful medium for arousing culture around this, and it's something we definitely plan to utilize in the future. These actions naturally vary in their application depending on circumstance and culture of the chapter. It's not just add water here. This is something that people have to be present to and alert to the demographics, the different environments, the cultures, the circumstances of which a chapter operates within. One knows their surrounding culture, their opportunities for awareness action, and the lines which can or cannot be crossed. So there's no ignorance or oversimplification here. Use what you will, adapt it, and build upon it as necessary. The success of the LA movement has been its supporting community chapter, of course, of individuals, and a surfacing of a core group who haven't only offered up ideas, but have also followed up on those ideas and been very consistent and reliable. Our success has also been keeping our actions relevant with the broader movement message. Our success has been a focus of inclusive, direct action, rather than internal organizational theory and dispute. It's been in holding the awareness events with the global movement, in solidarity with the global movement, the movement-wide event days, ZDay. Our success has been social, holding periodic social gatherings to keep the community. Our success has been in realistic expectations. It's been in communication, staying in communication with each other. It's been replacing any loss of heart, of low return on any efforts, with pride in the action itself. And our success has been in, of course, holding the basic meetings. The basic meetings are what this all comes out of. And on the subject of growth and involvement, a final and essential characteristic of the movement I want to mention specific to the chapters is that there be a culture for expansion present in the chapter environments. A culture of expansion, facilitating the reiteration of the chapter phenomena in a self-organizing, expanding manner, facilitating that expansion with our basic movement activities, the formation of new core groups of people that can put this kind of stuff on, the formation of new speakers, new organizers of activism and events, in addition to the existing chapter in place. New chapters forming independently with their own actions and relationships, distinct from, yet in solidarity with, the larger city chapter whole, allowing for this to all kind of flourish in its own self-organizing life. A chapter may be functional with activism and events, but that only happens on behalf of about a team of 10 to 20 people, give or take. Chapters have hundreds of people, of able and ready people in their chapters who can do what's already been done many times over. I've come to see this, that we are all active. We all are active in our own ways, in varying degrees, individually in our own time. But this is a movement. We count on each other here, and it's about everyone rolling together and on the same page. There's a movement mentality to be embodied to add oneself synergistically to the expansion of the movement. This is the intent here, to take this on as one's own, almost as if there is no movement in place, that it's on the individual to create the movement out of nothing. It very much is. It very much is. If we want this to succeed, we got to be willing to lead. Something I often tell myself. The movement needs depth. The movement needs depth. Things are happening out there. There's a great opportunity available to us every day to go on radio, represent at different events. Interest is there. There's a lot of initiative. There's also a great need for initiative. This is a leaderless movement in the sense that it is a leaderful movement. It's a leaderful movement, and we're not carrying on the same messianic figurehead model that we've seen in the past, with only a handful of outspoken individuals centric to the energy and life of the entire effort. Everyone will step into leadership roles in some capacity by their own measure, or we will be drowned out where we stand by the dominant system and culture in place. The formation of movement actions in your area starts again with the basic initial meetings. Anyone can hold a meeting. One needs just a basic understanding of the movement. Find a location, set a time and date, and let your chapter coordinators know about it so they can notify the chapter and people can know to attend. We're just getting started here. We've hardly begun to make the intended impact that we've intended, and we're doing it on top of the everyday demands and tedium of the current system. It's an uphill battle. We don't have any tears about it. We expect it. Oh yeah, we know what's involved here. Culture itself, the market machine. And one comes to term with certain perspectives and mindsets very quickly in what will be likely be a long and winding path of progress and possible setback. And I want to go to this now, some of the outlooks that many in the movement have come to internalize with regard to staying engaged and effective in this huge social undertaking, and how we build ourselves for long-term activism, long-term durability in our activism. We are looking for a revision at the foundations of our methods for human survival on this planet. An adaptation out of the labor for income, classist, individualistic means of social organization, which over time have slowly shed appendages of basic human and ecological respects, morphing itself entirely around its true nature for survival competition, still hiding behind this propaganda of some society balancing and society progress creating transcendent theory of self-interested economy. In this pursuit for a deep evolutionary shift in human society amid profound future possibility, how do we stay engaged? How do we stay engaged in the long-term process that this entails? And I want to say that the answer to that is in the everyday actions of the here and now process of it all. Having our vision, right? But not becoming so fixated on future ideals that when sobered by the scope of what's involved in getting to that vision, there's a loss of heart for the here and now everyday actions that are necessary in getting to such ends at all. That may seem overly practical, but in this respect, the philosophy for motivated action is in the grounding of the everyday action itself and a recognition of the process. The evolution of human society will always be in a process of change. It has no period at the end of it. And so the real accomplishment is simply being in the activism of this humane pursuit itself, not in reaching some endpoint of accomplishment, but being in the process of it. One develops very quickly a wisdom here of the transitional growing process involved to stay locked into what can be, to what can and needs to be done here and now on a day-to-day basis in order to reach any future ideal at all. This is something we've bought into here. It's a perspective taken to the advantage of the movement. Staying engaged in movement action means having the honesty to realize where one is at in their particular knowledge set and abilities at any given time. And that it doesn't stop us. To realize that we're in development here. Come back in a couple of years and we'll be at a different level here. Feelings and projections of inadequacy and ineffectuality can be a subtle and hindering force, all-consuming force. I understand that, but we can't be timid with this. We do not have years and years to gently self-organize at a comfortable preference. We're very much on our own here. The world, those who suffer across the world, needs us. Future society itself needs us to buy into and understand and to trust in our own development by not waiting on anything, by taking action to our present capacity, not by hoping and wishing, but by taking action, shedding ourselves to come into the center of things, to be who we are now and begin owning and building this direction alongside each other. We take action, we improve, and we stay together. We do that, we should be in a good position at the end of the day. What will help us out of this dysfunction and suffering will not be the intellectual understandings alone, but in combination with a deep personal sense of offense about our world condition, a compulsion to step in and to help to stop the world, to stop things, to stop the world and have a conversation and begin moving forward together in the rational, humane ways that we all want to see that will benefit everyone. An integrity to stand up and call out the inconsistencies of society, going around with this air of civility and normalcy as if the problems at hand are not deeply freighted with the problems and significance that they are freighted with. Got to call this out. And we can't just soldier on for the sake of soldiering on. We're trying to achieve something here. We can't just be going through the motions. It takes not only action, but inspired action, a sense of purpose and passion. It's going to take a quiet focus at times, but also an edge of determination as well. Having passion with this movement is important. It's motivating, energizing. It somehow activates other people into action. And it doesn't mean that we slide into zealotry or narcissism with that. We keep our advocacy tight, but we do not forget the greater solidarity. It's simply a matter of translating the true gravity of the oppression and environmental harm that we're causing ourselves by persisting within the traditional system of economy we've come to know. In comparison to the gravity of all that is possible, translating the true gravity of the oppression, but also in comparison to what all is possible if we could, just find a way to forgive, trust, and reconcile as one human community sharing one planet home. In closing here, just wanted to say that I think many of you share this special problem. I think a lot of us here have a special problem with people not being included. It's not nice. You know, it upsets us. It upsets me. Call it a frailty on our part. Life is precious, though. And, you know, I think a lot of us have had to accept individual suffering, that not everyone makes it, not every little thing survives. But when it is so widespread and so unnecessary, that is where I draw the line and step in to father a better society and a better world, to step in to do something. Waste and inefficiency is also pretty annoying. Nothing was put here to be wasted. When it's simply a lack of energy and effort that causes something to go into disorder, I think we all have a pretty big problem with that. If we know better, then we know better and we should do better. And we don't, and that is also very, very unacceptable, and also where I think a lot of us draw the line. The Zeitgeist movement seeks the abolition of the current market system, a departure as soon as possible from the self-interested, individualistic philosophies of the market economy, and looking for the embrace of a scientifically derived, holistic world system. It comes down to how we spend our time. We know what we're getting from the system in place. It'll be at its best against us with this kind of change as it rotates in the other direction of nationalism and consumption and, you know, establishment preservation. Now it's about what we do, the actions that we take, and how we respond. It all narrows back right back down into a chapter in the role of the movement.
Just stay up here. Stay up there for a minute, all right? Thank you, Brandon. Hopefully I can make this quick and sweet. My name is Eva, and Brandon and I together were co-founders, some of the co-founders for the LA chapter. So yes, we came out here to join you for this wonderful event. There has been some exceptional information, and not just the information, but the presentation. And it's been inspiring. I've been able to kind of step in and with the audience and sometimes from upstairs through the Ustream. So this is being streamed live, so people across the world are watching and what's going on. And so I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to actually be very brief, and we're going to move into a question and answer after that. So if you're thinking in terms of things you've always held near and dear that you wanted to ask, or if something today got into your mind that you want to inquire about, please do. So my closing 2 cents on this, because this has been a long day. So, you know, the first thing I got to give you guys an applause. Honestly, this has been an awesome event. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you so much for your attentiveness. And this is an awesome crowd of people, so thank you. The story I want to share is because so many things were touched upon already that I actually thought I want to talk about. Because I'm not doing a presentation, I'm not doing a lecture. You've heard a lot of that today. But I want to talk about our personal growth, the growth of the chapter, like this chapter, and also the growth of the movement, and how those interrelate. And one of the things I did early on is we would have meetings, and I'd go up and say, hey, one day you're going to be a speaker. And people would go, oh, you know, and wouldn't see them. And it's like, oh, maybe that's not the best approach. Or maybe you'd like to be a speaker one day. Not the best approach. I had no intention of becoming a speaker, okay? When we met for the first time and people were handing out the clipboard about what skill sets we had, it's like Brandon and I looked at each other like, I'm not a technician, not an engineer, I don't do video editing, I don't do all these really important things. So we sat there and we pretty much left it blank. So I really didn't know where I fit in. But what happened is we got together as we met each other, as we had an opportunity to find out what we were creating. That's the bottom line, is we were creating. And this creative process is not going to stop. It's not because this chapter is here the creative process stops. It lives within each of you. You all have something to contribute within this framework, or if you create another framework. The concept is a grassroots movement, is to move it into the community level, right? So right now we're fortunate that we can come together on this global event, but also in every city we have communities that in the US, that's what we call it. It's like the lowest level where it should be in that format. So it's great to aspire to these larger events, but it's also very realistic to realize if you're going to create this, because that's where the learning is. You want to learn, you want to find out what it is. If you don't think the movement's doing enough, trust me, take it on. Find a buddy, one person, that's all it takes to start. Just one other person who shares the same values. And then you can start having the discussion, start getting creative. How do we get this out? How do we find more people? What are we going to do? What breaks the law? Certain things, it's like, we don't mean to break the law. It's like, let's do this. Oh, wow, that's against the law. Let's not do that anymore. The story I want to leave, because this is what I believe about people that I've met in the movement. And I shared this small story with some coworkers. And here's how it unfolds. There's 10 people, and they have to get through this forest, and there's only enough food for 5 people to survive. Now, these 10 people have to go because there's a war, and if they all stay, they'll all die. So you have to go through the forest, because once you get through it, then you're saved. But there's only enough food for 5. What was interesting was the first response was, well, maybe they can hunt, and maybe they can forage, and maybe it's like, nope, none of those are options. One person simply just didn't answer the question. Next person I went to, it's like, well, 5 people have to die, right? There's only enough for food for 5. There's 10 of you. 5 are going to die. And that's where the conversation ended. That's the easy thing. We can see that. We see that today. It's like, we have a problem here, right? And this has to change, but then nobody wants to really talk about it. Third person I asked was, well, maybe we would vote. Maybe we would team up. Oh, that's an interesting thing. I want to team up with you, and we can take out that. You know what? We already see that in play, right? And what winds up happening, right? Who knows? That's the worst case scenario, and that's kind of what we got going on here. Worst case scenario. Every person out for themselves, butting up, trying to figure out how can I strategically place myself to make this happen. The interesting thing, and the reason I bring up this question, is this is what we're faced with every day. Okay? It's easy to be right, be moral, make the right decision, but look at what your options are. What we do here in the movement is you get the crowbar out, and you dig, you get the shovel, and you find out why. No one asked, what's the war about? What are we doing over here? That's the things that we ask. We get down there, and we'll do the digging, we'll get dirty, we'll get the crowbar, and start asking those questions that, well, most people have forgotten to ask. How did the situation get started? This is not a blame game. This is just getting down to what really needs to be done to stop these kinds of questions. Stop putting us in this kind of circumstance where I have to be part of something where half of you are going to be great and half of you aren't. As Brandon said earlier, unacceptable. So thank you to all of you for being here, for your patience once again, and obviously your interest. Thank you.